Hi everyone, my name's Margaret. I work at the University of Newcastle and today I'm going to tell you all about super symbionts. In this cover image here you can see a beautiful coral reef in tropical sunlit waters, a range of different types of corals and also fish living within there. So, who lives in our oceans? We have 35,000 different species of fish, from very small to very large fish. We have plenty of prawns, lobsters, crabs and other tiny crustaceans as well. These are found in all sorts of environments, sand, rocky and coral reefs, from the poles to the tropics. We also have in tropical waters corals. You can see that in the center icon, and in coral reefs we also have giant clams, of course, you may have seen these, found in tropical shallow sunlit waters. We also have, for the clams, they're just part of a large group called mollusks, and they're also found all over our globe. Down the bottom we have seagrass that's on the left. This is an aquatic plant that mostly grows in sand, sometimes attaches to rock and provides habitats for fishes. And on the bottom right you can see that we have things you probably haven't seen before, but these are microbes, bacteria, virus and also algal cells. And these are absolutely everywhere in our ocean, but mostly you can't see them because they're too small to see with the naked eye. So we have plenty of animals, plants and other types of organisms in our marine environment, but how are they adapted for living together? If you imagine that the blue circle on the right is one type of organism and the green circle is another type, I've shown here three different ways that animals and other organisms can potentially live together. So at the very top you can see that there's a kind of a loose association between these organisms. They may be competing for space and food, but they also might be sharing those resources between each other. And these kind of relationships develop over time. Other organisms may live in close proximity to each other. They may be actively defending their resources against one another. So there might be fish patrolling their territories or corals throwing out tentacles to repel other corals. But they also may be providing some benefits to each other. And the ultimate living arrangement down the bottom is when one organism lives within the side of a body of another. And this is what we call symbiosis, and for many types of organisms it's the ultimate type of living arrangement because each provides benefits and one organism could not necessarily survive without the other. So symbiosis is really the subject of this slide presentation. Symbiosis gives you superpowers and it makes you a super symbiont. So there's lots of marine animals that use symbiosis to become supercharged. So the animal and its partner, this could be a microbe such as a bacteria or a very small algal plant, a larger plant, another animal, they both win. They both give each other superpowers by working together. Coral is one of the best examples of a super symbiont in our oceans. So on the left hand side you can see the corals as structures, so you can see the branching structures there. There are other types of corals in this image too, but just focus on the branching ones. Coral are in fact an animal, so they have a skeleton which produces that branching structure, but inside that skeleton lives an animal which is closely related to a jellyfish. So if you look over on the right hand side, you can see lots of tiny little mouths there. Look a little bit like upside down jellyfish. During night time, corals let these little mouths pop out and they catch the food that drifts past in the water. So corals feed at night time, and partly they feed at night time because these polyps are pretty sort of tasty little snacks for fish, and most fish sleep in the night time, although there are some that are awake. But within the cells, within the tissues of this coral, you also find, if you look at the image below, you can see a close-up of tiny cells there. Well, that's a tiny algal cell called Symbodinium, and this algal cell lives within the coral, and this is where the coral gets most of its energy from. So you can see that corals are found in sunlit water, so there's plenty of sunlight. the algal cells inside the coral harness this sunlight during the day, and they produce energy for the coral to live on, and they also produce oxygen, which also the coral needs to breathe. In return, the coral will use that energy. It will provide some waste material that the Symbionts can use, and it will also provide carbon dioxide that the Symbionts can also use as well. So this partnership is based around provision of food and gases. The Symbionts itself is housed within this nice skeleton structure, so it's got protection from any predators outside, provides a nice stable living environment for this Symbionts to live in. So this is a really, really cool example of a super symbiont relationship. You will find as well that there are other types of microbes that live on the surface of the coral, and there are also plenty of larger animals that live in close and sometimes symbiotic relationships with the coral. And I'll just show you some of the organisms that use coral as a place to live. So you can see in the top part that there's a few different fish species that are living within the coral. They are using this coral as a bit of a place to have access to food that can grow on the coral, and also as a cool place to avoid being attacked by a larger fish. On the right hand side you've got seahorses which are living on a feather star. Remember I pointed out in the first image. These feather stars move around the coral reef, and they frequently climb to the top of corals during night time, and they catch food in the same way that the corals do. On the bottom right I've got the crown of thorns starfish. No doubt you've heard about that. And there's also an example of a shrimp in the middle and a blue Linkia starfish. And these are using the coral as places to gather food from safely and avoid predation. I just wanted to briefly go over another type of super symbiont in our ocean, the bobtail squid. It's a squid that acts a little bit differently to most squid. It sleeps during the day, buries itself in sand. At night time it emerges to feed. It's a really tiny little squid, 1 centimetre to 3 centimetre size, so it would be a really tasty snack for anything swimming past. So the way that they get around being a tasty little snack is to hide in plain sight. And they hide by producing light from the bottom of their body. And this light glows, and means that if a fishy predator is looking up, it can't see the bobtail squid against the moon and the starlight coming down. So this is the squid here looking all nice and glowy. You can see that there's a small plate of glowy tiny spots in the upper right. This is the microbe that's giving the superpowers. It's called Vibrio. This Vibrio exist within the body inside the light organ. They enter the body when the squid is very young, and the squid can control how much light light comes out of the body and how well it's diffused by contracting muscles and light organs inside its body. And every now and then the squid will expel some of this Vibrio population so that it can live a new juvenile squid as well. And the bottom close up is just how the tentacles itself are glowing during the night time. So you may have seen glowing things in the water at night. It might be bobtail squid, or it can also be other types of things as well. So this super symbiont's got light on demand, and the Vibrio get protection from the elements. So when you're creating your super symbiont artwork, just keep in mind some facts about symbiosis. These are superpowers, and each partner will benefit the other. It's not a harmful relationship, it's where they're both helping each other. The benefits can include, and this is just for ideas, not telling you what to say or draw. Could be food to eat, gases to breathe, a safe place to live, helping to get rid of waste, and light sources. It's most often microbes in partnership with an animal, but not necessarily. Many different types of marine organisms, and it's not always a one-on-one. So I hope this talk has given you enough to go on when you're creating your super symbiont artwork, and I'm so looking forward to seeing them. So bye. Thanks for now.